Hello guys, welcome to a different kind of video that I've normally done on the channel. I've never really, I've done some opinion pieces per se, it's tier list and stuff. It's mainly been used for gaming, but I thought I'd switch it up a bit today in the hour before Raw, because that is what we're going to talk about today is the state of WWE right now and a review of WWE Evolution 2, which happened last night. And mainly just paying tribute to the women that were in it. Honestly, this event was fantastic. For a little background, I am very much an OG fan. I still would be today if the quality had kept up, honestly. But I grew up in the Attitude Era, so I've seen the best of the best, the Rock, Austin, etc. And you look at the quality drop. I began watching like 90s where it was WCW versus WWE and there was so many legends, man. It was like an all-star, such an insane roster to the point where mid-carders were like Hall of Famers, shoo-ins now. They really was legendary. And over the years, I probably would have kept watching. I've always been a wrestling fan if the quality had been the same. But this year it came onto Netflix and I returned. The reason why I returned, actually, or the spot that returned me, is tying into the women. Uh, Probably our favorite wrestler in the planet right now is Alexa Bliss. She returned in, um, it was actually start of February, I think. They moved to Netflix in January, and she returned at the Royal Rumble. I had no idea. Over the years, I kind of came in and out of it. I watched it pretty religiously from the late 90s, about 2002. Then I see Rocky and Austin left, so I left myself in a huff. Um, and then started watching again around 2004 to about 2006. Then, ever since then, it's never been consistent. I've kind of drifted in and out of it. But I usually keep an eye on results and who's the champion, etc. However, this time, I actually came back off the longest drought of just not even paying attention at all. To the extent that I didn't even know Tiffany Stratton was, for example, came back and it's like, oh, popped up on my recommended. Oh, that's this back. I knew she was out, but for all I knew, she'd been back for a while. All right, I'll click on that video, watched it. Came back to a monster pop, which is insane. It was an Attitude Era level pop, actually, speaking of the Attitude Era. And then another video gets recommended. All right, let's see who won this Rumble. Charlotte Flair. Watch that. And then another, and another, and another. And then I noticed it was on Netflix, so I thought, fuck it, I'll watch the next pay-per-view, which is Money in the Bank, which was excellent. That was one of the best pay-per-views of the year, sure. And that set the bar high for me. As a returning fan, I was like, oh damn, this is good. The roster's deep. This is very good. Saying that John Cena turned heel, which has been a mixed bag since. To be fair. But since then, I've had some criticisms of the product, of the company, of how it's run with TKO. And I don't think there's been a good event since then until last night, which is mainly why we're here. We're going to review Evolution 2. And as I review it, I'll reflect more on my opinion in general of what wrestling is today as an OG who watched it at its peak, its glory years, the golden years that Julia was mainstream popularity. So good. The main problem, I think, did not apply to this pay-per-view in that they had seven matches, seven match card, which is perfect. It's about what it used to always be. And did I at any stage think the show's dragging a bit, or did I struggle? No, it was 3.5 hours, but it's 3.5 hours of solid entertainment. Every match in this card delivered. It was a banger. And as I say, I want to pay tribute to the women because, especially as someone who grew up with the Attitude Era, it's so night and day. The quality, the attention they give to them, the respect they have. And honestly, since they came back, I watch pretty much all of it. But I mainly am enjoying the women's stuff. And I was aware that the tide had been changing over the last decade. The women's revolution with the Four Horsewomen and Paige and Emma and Alexa herself, and then Asuka came, and then you get the next generation of like pure athletes who are insane in the ring, Rhea and Bianca. Nowadays, you kind of have everything. And back when I watched the Attitude Era, it was. I mean, you had some greats in there for sure, like Trish, who is probably the GOAT. Lita, who was right up there, was the GOAT. And then you had Ivory, you had Jazz, you had Jacqueline. All these women could wrestle, man. In China, they're all great, all Hall of Famers. Well, China isn't, but she should be. And then you had other kind of things that might appeal to, well, certainly creepy wrestling they did. You had the glamour model looking girls, you had Tori and Stacey, but man, like, for as good as the wrestling skills of some of those women were, and Ivory was great, and Jazz and Jacqueline, they were never really getting much. They were, so I was used to growing up watching the women be almost a afterthought. Because Vince, for damn sure, and Triple H did not really. That's Triple H. He was just a fucking wrestler then. But Vince and Bruce Richard, yeah, they saw them as a gimmick, a novelty. It's get them out, get the likes of Sable out for a fucking wet t-shirt spot. Have them do a bra and panties match. Do we give them much time? And I think that's a relevant point because this whole weekend was supposed to be about how far the women can they hold their own show. The first Evolution, I was actually around that time was one of the times where I was paying attention a little more to what was going on. There's a lot of new rumblings going on with Ronda Rousey coming in, stuff I was kind of interested in seeing. I like Asuka a lot around that time. As I said, Alexa's my favourite. She always has been pretty much since she came onto the main roster. She was ruling the roost at the time. The Four Horsemen were at the peak. So I was really interested going into that show to see what happened. And it tanked. It did really badly, despite having a pretty good roster. But now it's so much different, man. The depth in there is unbelievable. And I'm really, really happy that the show did so well because they are underappreciated. And as I said, that you could not get more of a blank slate than me coming in. No one knew a lot of these people are. Not really seeing much of them in the last handful of years. And my take so far is that the women are carrying the hell out of the show. Besides Seth Rollins and the men's side, what have you got? And he's just been injured. Roman's out. What have you got? Cody Rhodes is good. Cena's obviously a legend. Orton's legend. Drew McIntyre. Got a lot of talented people there on the men's side, but I just don't think they can compete with the women. And I think that showed last night. One thing that annoyed me going into the show, I think it annoyed the women as well. I think this spurred them on to make it such a good show. Because they always at the top. It was, are they driven enough to do it? One thing that annoyed me is that it's clear as day the show was created in response to AEW's All In, which is basically their WrestleMania. That was this weekend. Well, WWE responded in typically petty fashion by putting three events up against it. Yeah, the NXT's Great American Bash, Butch, and that, but I really pay much attention to the first half of it. I was mainly paying attention to the main event. Blake Monroe and JC and Jordan Grace versus JC Jane and Fallon Henry, I think. And I'll come on to why I was paying attention to that later. But yeah, there was no build up. It's a problem. I said I will comment kind of on the whole state of WWE from a returning fan perspective, and I don't think they give events room to breathe anymore. They don't do enough build up at all. It's just event after event after event. PLE to call them that. PL after PLE, like fucking. There was not much build up to this show. 7-match card. You had a build up since Mania for the Intercontinental title match, which was first up. That was great. That was a really good build up. I'll talk about that more when we actually review that match. Beside that, they had a little story going on with Alexa and Charlotte teaming up, and Roxanne and Raquel are the new tag champions after, unfortunately, another thing to say. This show was incredible, and it's still missed. Liv Morgan. Liv's great. I've always loved Liv. And she's another one who I was pleasantly surprised at when I basically didn't pay attention at all for 2 years, came back to it. And it turned out in that time, she really gone to the next level, become main event. So I was really happy about that. So yeah, there's a bit of a storyline in the tag match, in the triple threat, but a lot of the matches were just kind of thrown together last second and not really given the respect from the company to really like work a program and build hype for it. So there was a bit of skepticism about this event, and would it be a success? Would it tank like the first one? And well, I think that was dispelled immediately. We have talent and the quality that they have in this roster, and right now, honestly, it's one of it's no doubt. I think it's the best division in the wrestling world. Since I returned to it about 6 months ago, I have paid a bit more attention of what's going on elsewhere as well. And the women roster in WWE, right the way down to NXT, is teaming with talent. There's so many. There's a bit of everything. So yeah, it's paying tribute to this event started with the IC title match. And well, if ever there's perfect opening match for Evolution, the whole point is to show how far they've come. Then having the two of the four horsewomen in the opening match is definitely a good way to go about it. This was Becky Lynch, who is the IC champion, versus Bayley, two of the horsewomen, versus Lyra Valkyria, who is not one I had no idea who the fuck she was before I returned to watching after the Rumble. Not a clue. She'd come through NXT, I think, had won the new crown. Oh, well, she was the inaugural IC champion. This year, they brought in two mid-card belts for the first time, IC and US. And I think, from what I've got, the general opinion from a lot of people from Lyra was, I think she came into the main roster about halfway through last year. And she kind of flatlined. And it's still good, but a lot of people were kind of going off her and think she wasn't really proven, she wasn't really get reactions and stuff. I liked her from the start, personally. I came in with that blank slate, fresh mind. Definitely, she has visibly gone up a level in the last month or two. Since Becky came back, turned heel, and Becky's great, man. Becky's great, wherever. As a face or a heel. I think a lot of people were unsure whether she should be a heel in the big 2025, but I think she's showing right away, like, why she is. It was a great decision. They put her the belt on her. She won the second match. The first time, she got beat by Lyra. And then they had a rematch where if Lyra wins, she has to, Becky can never challenge again. If Becky wins, Lyra has to hold up her arm in tribute. So, of course, Becky Lynch was good. I think everyone expected it. But I think it was the right decision. And this whole feud really did elevate Lyra to a level that is befitting of the IC champion. It's a big deal, man. It's a show of faith. The first ever IC champion. One of the most well-known belts in wrestling, full stop, is the WWE IC men's title. So the women's belt deserves a lot of respect in that way. And it certainly got more than the US title. I may come on to that at some point. I doubt it, because it wasn't covered in this show, but and the Atlanta intrigue as well. But yeah, this was a surefire banger. I think everyone expected it. They're three great wrestlers, especially Bayley. I think Bayley has always been my favorite four horsewomen, actually, because she's all about the business. She was never in it for herself. Come on, mate. Excuse me, something in the throat. She was never smashed into the main spot like Charlotte Flair. She was never. I can't even think of it. Say criticism of Becky Lynch. Obviously, Becky's great, but yeah, Bayley was always my favorite. And this match, as expected, I expected it to be the best in the card. Was it the best in the card? I think so, and that is no disservice because I would rate this like a solid 9 out of 10. A lot of back and forth, a lot of near falls, a lot of athleticism, a lot of really great pins as well from the start. I'm not going to go too much into describing the matches themselves. I'm still a bit of I wouldn't say armchair fan, but I'm still a bit rusty on a lot of the names of moves and stuff. I didn't write this down to remember off the top of my head. But there was a lot of change in the near falls. One person would go in for one, and the third person would break it off. And no one really got too much momentum or advantage. Unlike most WWE or wrestling in general, triple threats, I feel like they did a really good job of keeping everyone relevant. Um, it's not a criticism; it's a different kind of style. Sometimes it works, but a lot of triple threats you will have 1v1, and some person's out of the ring for fucking 5 minutes, and then they come back in, and someone else goes out, and then it's 1v1, and it's kind of a rotation of singles and stuff. But I think they did a really good job of having them kind of close together for the whole match. It didn't do that much outside the ring. A lot of it was inside the ring, not even so much rope work as well. It was just there in the center doing a lot of mat work, from one to the next, a lot of reversals, and it was really, really well structured. Great match. It went on for about 15 minutes, which I think is about the right time for a 3.5 hour show. I think I had the right winner as well. Winner expected. I did think Becky would win this because I think they're gonna continue this on into SummerSlam, and who could blame them? The SummerSlam's in a couple of weeks, so the 2 nights for the first time ever. So there's a lot of room on the card to get there. I would be very happy for that. Carry on. How it ended, there was a lot of they kind of began trading finishes after about 10 minutes or so. A lot of near falls. I think at one point there was a really good maneuver where Lyra did a fisherman suplex, and was it Bailey came down with the bang hard with the elbow. Lyra's head was fucking back, trying to pin Becky, and she got whacked in the midriff and then went straight down. Man, that's what looked great. Yeah, it looked dangerous as well. She could have snapped the neck down. The commentator, might have been Michael Cole for that one. He made a comment on that. Or Wade Barrett, one of them. It's true, that one looks pretty savage. Bailey goes for Rose Plant after a Bailey to belly on Becky. Becky rolls out. Then Lyra into Gory's Becky, I think. Bailey plants the Rose Plant on Lyra, goes for a pin, and then out of fucking nowhere, this was great. Becky comes in, scoops up Bailey from between the legs, and it turns it into kind of like a crucifix pin, actually. She didn't scoop her up by legs, she scooped the back of her arms and then kind of dragged her over into crucifix pin. It was a really, really creative end to a great match. The flow was perfect. Like I said, there wasn't too much time dedicated to just one pairing. The feud, the build up on this match, I commented on, it was easily the best, I would say, of all of them in terms of the direct pre-show booking. There is another matchup in this card later on, Jay vs Naomi. That has been a long-term story from since before I even began watching again, and picked up the best PLE I watched this year live at Elimination Chamber. But it's kind of been on and off again. Naomi won the briefcase recently, and her and Jay kind of had some run-ins background, but it was tempered by focus on Naomi's briefcase elsewhere. This one was front and center in terms of build-up. I think it was excellent, and I think the way they structured the match, so there wasn't two long periods where it's just 1v1 and the other person gets forgotten, was befitting of the build-up, because it really was like they all hate each other. There's no kind of outsider feel, a bit like Benoit when fuck him for what he did, by the way, but I will not forget him from wrestling history, like the WWE does. But yeah, a comparison is the Mania 20 main event, which was spectacular. One of the best triple threats ever. It's still the build up. A lot before that was Triple H and Shawn Michaels with the real rivals. And Trish Benoit was kind of coming in as an outsider. It didn't feel like that, even though Lyra and Becky had been feuding for quite a while, and then Bailey came wrestling. And technically Bailey and Lyra are faces, but I think this whole feud has done a lot for Lyra, because they both kind of did heelish things as well, in really just trying to hit each other and Becky Lynch. I think it's just given Lyra an extra intensity and aggressiveness and just believability. I mean, for one thing, when you're hanging in the ring as well as she did with two of the biggest legends of the modern era, there are probably two top five all time, I would say, Becky Lynch and Bailey. You do that, you just go up a level. That was the whole intention, I think, of putting this feud together from WWE to really legitimize and put over Lyra, and it's worked. It really does. She's getting fan reaction now. She is legit. I would not be surprised if she wins back at SummerSlam. I would be all for that, honestly. But really, I love all three of these ones, and whoever won, I would have been happy. I was just more focused on, is the match going to be great? Well, I knew it was. How good is the match going to be? And it exceeded expectations on. It was fantastic. Next up, we had the NXT Women's Championship. Now, when I returned to watching, start of the year, I didn't pay that much attention to NXT. It's too much to digest sometimes. There's fucking 3 shows a week, and the PLE, there's main event, and there's all this bullshit. It's just too long. So I still have never really consistently watched NXT. I don't think I ever will. However, I did have vested interest in this because I also watched Great American Bash this weekend. Main reason what was watching this because the involvement of Blake Monroe. I am British, so I have a bit of a soft spot for my compatriot Mariah May, who has been rechristened as Blake Monroe now. AW's something I've not watched that much of, but when I did return, when I get into something, I do get into it. I remember Googling PWI Top 500. I was like, all right, let's do like the best wrestlers on at the moment. I've not watched for a couple of years. Not paid any attention at all. Who are the best ones? Tony Storm was number one, 2004, which I completely agree with, by the way. I've watched a lot of stuff back. So yeah, I started watching a lot of Tony clips. I've still never watched AEW live or anything. I don't even know how. But I've watched a ton of Tony Storm stuff. And by extension, a lot of Mariah May stuff. So she got hired recently as a free agent. I was really excited. She was fantastic in that feud with Tony. She's a great heel. I've seen some interviews with her, IRL. She's wicked funny, sharp, smart, and just savage. So it did not surprise me at all that in this match she did turn heel right at the end. She was paired with Jordan Grace, who came in at the Rumble from TNA. Is another one I had no idea who she was at all before this year. And another one I like a lot. I'm gonna be an old echo chamber of myself throughout this whole video, and it's actually like me somewhat. Yeah, I try to be positive and stuff in life, but even during the Attitude Era with Pete or the Ruthless Aggression era that I watched during peak years, there are a lot of people on the cards I just didn't give a fuck about or did not rate or anything like that. But man, I'm gonna go through all these. I'm gonna be like, I like this one, I like that one, I like that. I like everyone involved in this match. And that's how good the version is. And that basically is the case with this one. And even JC Jane, you know, started watching NXT in clip form, as I said. The main thing I'd watched before Blake came on was Stephanie Bucket. She's brilliant. She's another one I had no idea who she was before this year. And she is a future star. We'll talk about her more later on, but she was the NXT champion for a long, long time and then lost unexpectedly to JC Jane, who again I had no fucking clue who she was before she won the title. But I heard about that news and it was like, oh damn, Vaquer lost. Of course, she gets promoted to the main roster immediately. She was more than ready. They even apparently they offered her the main roster spot from the start when she joined, but she said herself, I actually want to go NXT and while I'm learning English, get used to it and stuff. So she paid a dues there and lost the title to JC Jane. A lot of people are critical of JC Jane, saying it should have been this person, should have been that person. And I get it. There were bigger names in the division. There's Jordan, there's Lash Legends, Kalani, Jordan. There are a lot of options they could have gone with. Salt Ruka. Why not have her win both belts? Salt Ruka's brilliant. Instead, they went with JC Jane. Well, all I've seen of her is after she's won the title since then, and I like her a lot, man. I don't understand the criticism. I think she was great in the whole build-up to NXT, American Bash. As I said, I've watched a bit more of it recently since Blake came in, and she had a kind of a little program with her. And in this match herself, she was good. She can go in the ring. She's pretty solid. Still been the star of this match was Jordan Grace because she is spectacular. She's an absolute unit. Different kind of thing, as I said. Nowadays in this division, you kind of have a bit of everything to cater to people. But she was kind of like the power, the muscle. JC is more the shit comes heel. You know, the chicken shit heel is the one I'm looking for. She reminds me of Shawn Michaels a lot, honestly. Even the look, actually, when she comes down, she's got the shades on, she's got the fucking leather jacket on, she's doing all the poses and stuff. But she did what she had to do. She made me want her to lose and really get behind the face, Jordan Grace. To be honest, I thought this first surprise, I thought Jordan was going to win. I always looked at JC, and even though I've really liked what she's done since she got the belt, I always saw her as a transitional champion because Becker, who's a long-standing champion, dominant division, went to the main event. And then they signed Blake. So it's like, all right, Blake's going to be the next one to really be like the candle bearer. So what they're going to do in the meantime is have JC's transitional champion put the belt on Jordan Grace, who's another one who will be main roster soon. She's too big for NXT now, just like Blake. With respect to NXT, she is. I thought they were going to put the belt on her and then make Blake do this kind of slow thing like she did as Mariah May with Toni Storm, where she's the understudy to the champion for quite a while as a face, and then she wins it all or just turns on end general. Well, fucking hell. I think everyone expected that. WWE knows everyone expects that. And they jumped the gun. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Time will tell, I think. I didn't mind it so much because at the end of the day, Blake Monroe, Mariah May, whatever you want to call her, she is so much better as a heel. She is a fantastic heel. She's amazing in the build-up to the trilogy she had with Toni Storm. First one was at Wembley, she won the title. Second one was, so that was her home match. Second one was Tony's home match in Australia, Brisbane. She won it back, Tony there. And then they had a Hollywood Revenge Tour, or whatever the fuck it was called, match as the Dead Rubber. And Toni Storm won that. In the entire build up for that, she matched Toni Storm, who is incredible. She's one of the greatest female characters, if not the greatest female wrestling character ever. Mariah May more than stood up to her. So her involvement in this match and her turning heel, her turning heel is not a surprise, but doing it so soon was a little. I think people did think Jordan would at least win the title first. Who would complain about her? I mean, she's great. She deserved it. But as I said, I seem to be in a minority here. I like what Jace Jones do as a kind of shithouse heel. She's got her two minions there. She's got Jasmine and Nyx and Fallon Henley. So she has all the setup to be a top heel in NXT. And I must admit, I'm like watching these shows, these PLEs, and seeing this NXT exposure. It's something I didn't expect for Evolution. You know, the roster on Raw and SmackDown is so deep, they will just fill the show with them. That was foolish of me. Of course, they're going to put NXT on there somewhere. And I'm glad they did because it's made me interested in NXT now. Because I've finally had exposure to some of the talent on there. And yeah, this really does make me want to see what happened next. As far as the actual match goes, went on for about 10 minutes. Again, it was a banger. I don't think it was as good as the first match, but that's no shame in that. I think the first match was at 9 out of 10. This was a solid 7.5 or 8. I don't think there's any spectacular wow moments, but it was just solid work all around. Two different styles. The power of Jordan Grace versus the athleticism and, just general heel tactics of JC and entourage around the ring. And eventually the final spot had I quite like this throwback. Blake comes out ringside, takes out the two women from JC's corner. One of them she takes out with a headbutt, which is clearly a nod to Toni Storm, which is the same thing. I really like that. I like that they don't insult her intelligence. Everyone knows her from AEW, even though she's done work in Japan and other stuff as well. Obviously, a lot of work in the UK, which has a big wrestling scene. But I like that they didn't make no bones about it, and they have some kind of reference to her previous character. I still don't understand why she's not called Marilyn, not Marilyn Monroe, Mariah Monroe. Maybe they thought that was too close to Marilyn Monroe. Instead, they went Blake Monroe. But I don't know. I didn't like it at first. It's kind of growing on me. Yeah, she is Ted Heel. Also, there was an appearance but I don't know who this woman is. I'm learning a lot about wrestling this year as a new for the last couple of years. Masha Slamovich or something. I don't know. Some TNA champion came, and apparently she is going to take on JC Jane soon. I think. I don't know if the belts are involved on the line there. I doubt it. But if they are, then expect Masha on NXT soon as well. So that'll be exciting. All right, fair enough. On this card, after two opening bangers, we had yet another banger. This one was great. A little confusing, I will say. It was the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match. We had the champions Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez of the Judgment Day versus a team from each track. So the Raw team was the Beach Warriors, the SmackDown team was Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, and the NXT team was Sol Rica and Zarya. This match flowed really well. I think it's another one everyone expected good things of. I didn't know much, if anything, about Sol Rica and Zarya this time last week. But on SmackDown on Friday, they had a quarterfinal. Quarterfinal, what am I talking about? They had a fatal four, you can call it. Yeah, they had a fatal four-way for one member from each team. It was Roxanne versus Alexa versus Kyrie. Yeah, it's Kyrie versus Sol Rica. And Sol Rica stole the show, man. And she's in there with some good wrestlers. Um, so I was really excited to see her. She wrestled 3 times this weekend. So straight away, I just want to say, shout out to Sol Rica. Those 3 appearances alone was already enough for me to think, fucking hell, she is ready for the main roster. She is top class. She can do everything. Her Soul Snatcher move is, in my opinion, the best finisher in the company right now. One of the best of all time. It's so cool. She runs off the turnbuckle, does a flip, and then basically does it looks like a cutter. She kind of just catches the opponent on the way down. At one point, she did that in this match, and Charlotte Flair sold the hell out of it. Speaking of Charlotte Flair, in terms of the build-up of the match, I knew a lot about the Judgment Day, of course. Even though I've not paid much attention in the last couple of years, they've been so big. Rhea first and Dom and stuff increased. They were so big that I knew who they were. And the whole build-up for them and this match, indeed, was skewed by Liv's injury. Hopefully Liv's back soon. She had an injury in the match against Kyrie, and it was no one's fault. It's freak incident. But what looked like what they were going to do was tease Raquel and Liv, who were the tag champions, against Nikki Bella and her partner they're choosing. Who would that have been? It looked like probably Rhea. She was feuding with Raquel. They ended up having a match in Saudi Arabia, which was pretty decent match actually. But this obviously shit on that, and in the end they've gone on this sort of free-bed ruling where Liv got injured. Raquel, Roxy was doing this whole storyline since she came up from NXT. A lot of NXT promotions in the last 5-6 months, and I'm for all of them. They're all good. Roxanne came to Raw. Julia went to SmackDown on US champ. Vaquer obviously came up. Fantastic. She's a future world champ, legend, amazing in the ring. She's got everything. Roxanne isn't a one I think who has everything. Her nickname, the Prodigy, it really does fit. I was shocked when I heard she's only about 22, 23 or something. Is she the best wrestler in the company? No, she is far from it. And that's not a diss, because we'll come on to some wrestlers there. But she's good enough. She's still pretty solid. Although she does have some times in certain matches, I think, where she's a bit slow and stuff. Well, the whole storyline coming into this was, would Judgment Day accept her? Finn Balor kind of was fucking with trying to get in between Dom and Liv the whole time and the build up of thing. Roxanne was happily doing that. Kind of a nod to storyline I've since caught up on where Liv inserted herself into Judgment Day, basically took Rhea's spot to Pin Man and became like the queen of Judgment Day for like. But Roxanne was kind of doing that for a while, so that story was brewing. Liv was so involved with a lot of things going on in Raw, and just in general, being injured was a big miss. So I think they just sped up what would have happened eventually. I think eventually Liv would have left Judgment Day with Dom. I think they would have smarted up to what Finn was doing, said fuck off face and just like and turn face. I think Raquel would have remained with Roxanne. So it's been sped up. They retained in this match. Was that the right decision? I think so. I wanted Charlotte and Alexa to win. I'll come on to them in a second, not just because Alexa is my favourite in the company. Um, yeah, there were other reasons I wanted them to, but I do think it does make sense to have the Judgment Day retain because of what I said. There was a bit of dissension. You could see Raquel's kind of trying to get warm to the idea of, oh, Rib was not on, and now it's this, what's that? Just the way. So I think it was important for them to get the win, not lose the belt for Roxanne's sake, because she is a future star. She will be a world champion multiple times. She is a future face of the company now. It's important for her sake that she at least shows some strength, at least give her one defense. I do think they'll lose the title at SummerSlam to Charlotte and Alexa, but we'll see. As for that, the first defense, it was, as I said, it was a solid match. One area of confusion for me was the. I feel like it should have been an elimination or even a tornado tag. There was two women in the ring at any one time, and anyone could tag in. So, you could have Zarya from one team tag in Asuka from the opposite side of the ring, another team. Maybe I'm just stupid. I don't know. But man, I found it difficult at times to remember who the fuck was legal in this match or not. I don't know if the women did the same. But I'm pretty sure someone posted on, I saw on social media or something afterwards that the non-legal woman got pinned at the end. The final pin was Raquel pin Solrigo, which I think was the right call. It was the most believable one. It doesn't hurt Sol any. She's still the NXT North American champion, basically their mid-card belt. She came out of this weekend looking fantastic, as I say. She was a standout in all three of the matches she was in. And two of them involved this program, the one on SmackDown and last night. But she had been in three matches for 8 hours. So if anyone's going to take the pinfall, it's better being her. In the build-up, I have absolutely loved the. I didn't expect to the whole build-up of the Charlotte and Alexa story. Are they going to be teammates? They call themselves allies of Queens. These are two OGs. I love them from times gone past. Of course, Charlotte Flair is a flawed figure in terms of, it can be debated how much of this is her fault. She's been smashed over and over and over again. The first event I paid attention to this year was when Charlotte returned, and Alexa also will return that night. One of them won the Rumble, one of them didn't. One of them got a lukewarm reaction, one of them got a monster reaction. Which one won? Not the one you think. And that was the problem for a lot of people, that, she comes back and she just wins. She wins, just always straight in the main event. I obviously hadn't watched much in the last couple of years, but it turned out she'd been gone for about a year or 9 months, something like that. And then just comes straight in, gets a Mania match, wins the Rumble. So she's been booed mercilessly since then. And it is a shame because she's great, man. Like, over matches over the years, I've been guilty myself of being fucking fed up with her at times. Like, the most egregious and the angriest I ever got, maybe ever, just watching a wrestling match at booking, including men. When she beat Asuka in Mania 2018, man, I was fuming. I really got on board that Asuka run. The first Women's Rumble, I watched it just for the novelty of it, yes. But, even then, the card was obviously getting a lot better than it once was when I was filming. When I was a wee lad, Uh, yeah, the 2018 Rumble she won, and I was so keen on watching that. And then Charlotte wins, and Charlotte wins, and Charlotte wins. And Asuka never really recovered from that man. She became champion afterwards, but the boat was missed. And I think people were really fearing this was going to happen again this year, and she was going to very sickly strap and just win the fight. Said she did do the job, but it still didn't matter. She was getting booed out the building every week. Um, Not even like just heat, but it was go away heat, nuclear heat. Well, if ever there was any doubt as to why I like Alexa so much, why she's a fucking goat, she is a goat. She is definitely right up there. Is there ever any doubt as to how good she is? Then just look at the fact that she did the impossible. She did what Vince has never been able to do in 10 years. What Ric Flair's never been able to do in 10 years. What Triple H has never been able to do in 10 years. And what Charlotte herself and all the opponents she just steamrolled through have never managed to do. She got Charlotte over. She's got a like. They got cheered massively. Since she came back, Alexa's probably getting the best reactions of the whole women's division. Maybe tied with Rhea Ripley, who's ever popular. For good reason. Rhea's fantastic as well. We'll get to her later on. But I was like Alexa because, was she ever the best wrestler? No. I think that'd be silly to say. But she was never bad. She was never ever bad. She was just solid. Since she's come back, I think she's been better than ever in the ring. I think she's been the star of the show in quite a lot of matches that she's been in. Mania, Chamber, the best, the MVP, and that was Liv, no question. But Alexa at the moments did okay in that. But then I think she was one of the better performers in Money in the Bank. And she's just been cheered throughout. I think her character work over the years has been incredible. She's probably the best woman on the mic in the entire. Well, honestly, if they give her it, which for some reason they don't. Was I always a fan of the Bray Wyatt creepy stuff? Not really. Yes and no. I like some of it. Other parts, I was just kind of like, oh, the goddess one. But I respect how much work she put into it and stuff. So the fans aren't stupid. They cheer her a lot because they know she's an OG. She's been there a long time. She's a veteran now. And she was kind of drifting. Her name has been used in a lot of good matches to sell them, but she never fucking wins. And same case again last night. However, I think they've stumbled upon something now. I think everyone thought she was going to pair up with the Wyatt Six. I'm kind of glad she hasn't. I feel harsh saying it's not the Wyatt Six fault. But they debuted last year with it, and they just disappeared for 6 months because Bo Dallas was injured, I think. They're coming back and they've won the tag titles this Friday actually, and they can still save it. But I do still think that it might be too late for them, and I think they needed Alexa more than she needed them. I'm kind of glad they kept it away from all. Yeah, unexpectedly, since she came back to SmackDown, she kind of came back in February and then just stayed 3 months. She's been teasing one team up with Charlotte. There's obviously a connection there. That's effectively the fifth horsewoman. If there was ever going to be one, it would be her. She started at the same time as the horsewoman, came through NXT around the same time, went to main roster around the same time. They were all inventing and did a lot of firsts around the same time. So they kind of played upon that, and I actually think this isn't the one that Liv's injury derailed the plans of. Because I feel like they were moving more towards the direction of Charlotte kept rejecting, didn't want to see her. And then Alexa's going to end up in the feud with her, feud with Charlotte. And then they officially turned Charlotte heel. But man, credit to WWE and credit to the two women involved. And talking about how fucking great Alexa is, given the rub up and stuff. But still, Charlotte had to do work, and I think their dynamic, their chemistry is great. Apparently, they get on together really well in real life. There was a bit of a favour return there when they first started out. Charlotte was the Nepo baby. Let's face it, she was. She was a flair. She was always going to be smashed into number one position. But still, obviously, for Horsewoman, she likes the best. And just the division in general, she was really helpful to people. So it's kind of gone full circle. She can help that return. Was she brilliant? Yeah. Great wrestler. Always respected her in England work. Was her mic work the best? Sometimes, yeah, she can go, but I think she was struggling this year. But man, like it's been infectious. Just seeing how happy they've been together, and then there's a lot of cool spots matches, like the SmackDown one last week when they qualified for this match. Just taps Alexa on the head, really like pedantically, but that counted as a pin, a tag in, sorry. No, Alexa steals the pin. So I would long term coming out of this whole program and the whole tag division observation wise, I would want this to be a rematch, those two teams. The only team I didn't mention at all there was Kabuki Warriors. Could they be involved? Could they come back to do something in the tag division? Yeah, I don't mind that. But I would still rather just have it straight Raw vs SmackDown with SummerSlam and just have Charlotte and Alexa take the titles off Roxanne and Raquel. The tag divisions have seemed to be an oversight for quite a while. No, before the last couple of weeks, how many legit tags were in the division? We had Liv and Raquel, who defended. They actually lost the titles to Lyra and Becky at Mania and then won them back the next day. And to my knowledge, they did not defend them again since then. But you think, well, who the fuck did they have to take on? No one. I guess that's the secret service on SmackDown. So often Piper and Albert are just with Chelsea Green, who I think is great, by the way. I love Chelsea. Yeah, they don't really fight as a tag team that much when it's coming to choosing their own opponents or their own game. It's a lot of the time, it's still Chelsea feuding with this person. Well, we're going to team up. We're going to fuck you over. And I can't be able to choose and stuff. And then there was Meech and B-Fab on SmackDown. I don't really have much of an opinion on them. If there's a wrestler I don't really care much for, I'm not going to go in on them and say, oh, shit, what's it that? I'm sure they're talented stuff. I don't care, to be quite frank. Their job is basically, they've been used as such. So they were never viable champs. Low key, man, like, as much as it's hard to say, maybe Liv getting injured was the best thing for the tag division itself. I'm not saying I'm glad it happened. I love Liv. She's one of my favorites. It's hopefully going to be an injury. It's not too damaging, and she's back soon. But I feel like they created some tag teams to fill this match because Nikki Bella was then shifted over to the Battle Royale. And yeah, Charlotte and Alexa have just organically and unexpectedly extracted, really taken off. I'm in on it now. I obviously, when Alexa came back, I wanted a singles run for her. It's been 7 years since she was world champ. It's been, I don't know how many years since she was gold to start. About 3 or 4. So I was really rooting for that. But now I really would be happy to see her in this team for like the next 6, 7 months. As for the champions themselves, one final observation. I think Raquel's great, man. When I first started watching again this year, I felt like she was just there. She was like the silent muscle for Liv. Basically a bodyguard. You know, Liv's a fucking fantastic heel. Every shithouse heel has to have this big unit next to them and kind of just this monster character just takes out whoever the feud right. And she didn't have that much to her, that much oomph. Great look and stuff, great presence. But she was kind of a extension of Liv, in my eyes. Well, man, I've changed my opinion full stop in the last couple of months. So I think Raquel Rodriguez for sure is a future possible world champ. She's legit, obviously, just in terms of appearance. She looks like she could beat, yeah, she's probably batting it. She looks like she could beat all the women. And she's got this presence spot on the ring. She's smooth in the ring as well. You know, she's not fucking Io Sky, Rhea Ripley level, but she's not bad at all. She can hold on. She's experienced. And I think this match she came out with looking the best alongside Sol Ruka herself. Zaria's another one who is a kind of in the same, kind of like Raquel like. She's the Raquel in spot in a couple of years' time, I think. Zaria will eventually end up on the main roster. She's kind of like the destroyer kind of character. She just ragdolled Alexa at one point in this match. and it looked great. And yeah, I think all eight of these women came out looking good. One other thing I said I wouldn't like to comment too much on negatives, so even reviews of them, but I loved the Kabuki ones when back in the day when I was paying a bit more attention. 2019, 2020, they were fantastic. They were tag champions a couple of times. Um, since Kyrie came back, she disappeared, went to Japan for about 3 years, came back. Since she came back, I think she's been rusty at Scotland. I think she's, although I don't blame her for the lib injury, and Zoe Stark got injured in a match involving Kyrie. It was actually Kyrie's return this year from her own injury. There was no blame on Kyrie then. I do think she has made a lot of mistakes though recently, um, including this Friday. I think she botched the end against Alexa's sister Abigail BBT, and Alexa had to think fast and kind of correct it, make it look better. Um, but yeah, shout out to Kyrie. At least on this match, I think she was back to her best. I think she did well. I was a bit concerned. Oh, was she gonna make a mistake and take it away from the match? But the Kabuki Warriors equally were great. And also shout out to there's some great vibes on. You can tell they're having fun. They're fucking bopping to Soul Rika's entrance music and then Alexa's music afterwards. The camera cuts them a few times. I like that a lot. It's a great match. I ranked the first one 9 out of 10, and then the second one a 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10. This was a solid 8.5 out of 10. I don't think it was as good as the first match. And as I said, I do think working out who the fuck was legal in the match at all was a bit too convoluted at times. Um, but there was enough going on. Everyone kind of got in some offense. The crowd are wild when Charlotte came in. Holy shit. They were chanting, "We want Charlotte." She came in and she smashed everyone for a minute. She just fucking destroyed everyone, throwing everyone around the ring. And then Sol had her spot. Zarya, as I said, had her moments, and the Kabuki Warriors had some great team offense. You could tell they were the most experienced team. So the other teams are kind of new. Um, and then at the very end, Raquel looks like a beast. She picks up Alexa, powerbombs her outside the ring onto everyone else, basically. And then hits a 2 on a bomb on Sol Ruka that looked vicious. This was really well done, really well sold, and she takes them. So yeah, great match. Up 4 was I'm going to call now Tiffany Stratton versus Trish Stratus. Well, if ever there's a wrestler who inspired another wrestler, of Trish Stratus, Tiff Stratton. Yeah, even the name is similar. This match was there to be made. The first event Haley of the year I watched was Chamber. And man, it's crazy to see. I talk about the era I grew up watching where I really did. The last time really where I did watch wrestling every show, every week I was there. That was Trish's heyday. To see her, I mean, having my Evolution card just makes sense. It's obviously the right move. Because who better represents Evolution, Revolution in making the women's division legit than Trish Stratus? She's one of the greatest of all time. And it's crazy that she can still go, man. Like, fucking hell. I don't like to speculate in a woman's age. She still looks great, by the way. That's still fucking, god damn. She was like number one crush growing up, so it's one of them. It probably doesn't matter what age she is, but that, she still looks great. But yeah, you think, like, she debuted 25 years ago. This year, it was 2000, Trish debuted. She was probably at least 25. You'd guess. She'd done a bit of model work before, like Miss Universe or whatever the fuck. She was a fitness model, I think. So she's probably 50. But that man, like, she looks great. She moves great. She didn't miss a beat. Is she as good as she was? Obviously not. I think Trish, the big credit and praise it gives to Trish is that she started and everyone just thought, oh, she's going to be another Sable or a Stacey or a Tori, where they do a bit of in-ring work, but, they're not really like wrestlers. They work hard, but they're not really great in-ring. Trish surprised everyone, man. It was a slow build. I didn't think she was the greatest in the roster until about 2004. I'd put more like Molly, Lita, Victoria ahead of her up until that point. But then everyone from like 2004, 2007, man, when she went heel was just fantastic. She was amazing. Great heel. So I was really happy to see her on the show, obviously. Nice to, and shout out as well to the show for a lot of the. They invited a lot of legends back to just sit in the crowd. I know some declined it. Kelly was amongst them, I think. You can kind of understand. There's a battle royale going on. They're like, oh, you're not even going to bring me back for that. Just like stick me free tickets and put me on screen for 2 seconds. I can understand people saying like that. So it was great to see a lot of legends back. Yeah, Vicky Guerrero, it's always funny. Well, R.I.P. Eddie, of course, one of the goats. Uh, it was great, speaking of Attitude Era, to see Jazz, Ivory, Jacqueline there, Alundra Blaze, Medusa was there. Not a female wrestler, but just remembered Mark Henry was there. Great to see him as well. He's an OG. Melina was there, another one. Great to have. She was a great wrestler, man. For a couple of years, she was probably the best thing in the division in like 2007, 8, something like that. It's a shame we didn't have Mickey James or Lita, who are two other legends that I'd like to see return. But yeah, Charlotte's Robin all on there. As for Trish herself, she takes on Tiffany. The build up was non existent, which has been criticism going into the show. Didn't matter. It's Trish Stratus. She's going to sell well. It's such a contrast between Saudi and I didn't even know Tiffany Stratton was because I hadn't paid attention for a couple of years or not even looked at results, who was the champ, etc. I've watched stuff back. I heard she had a meet with Irish Rise when it's team, and then again through SmackDown. I like Tiffany Stratton a lot. I think she's great in the ring. I think she reminded people of that last night, actually. I think people were starting to sleep on her again. She reminded everyone just why she is world champ. Am I mad she's world champ? No. I don't know what it is though, but right now I can't put my finger on it. I wouldn't mind her reign ending. Maybe it's just saved its time. She's going to be champ a lot of times in future. Has she had a bad reign? No, by all means. I think almost she's struggled for opponents in a way. But no, you've got to look at her reign compared to some of the Leo's. It's been bad news. She's smashed Tiffany over, really. Yeah, to beat Charlotte, which is a big deal, obviously. 14-time champion of the world. Yeah, to beat Nia, who's like a big deal, obviously, as well. She's in Noe. Noe family, is that what they're called? She's a multi-time world champ. She's like a unit. They had to beat twice. Stratton. Who else has she beaten? I think she beat Candice LeRae one time, who's mainly there for job. And she's good. She's tough. Yeah, they've really like treated her okay. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know if it's. I wouldn't mind her losing the title soon. Do I want her to lose it to Jade at SummerSlam now? No. I'll come to Jade when it comes to. I have really mixed feelings on Jade. It's going to happen though. She will lose the title at SummerSlam, I think. The one problem about last night's match, in a way, when you act like Trish she was never going. Everyone knew the result before it went on. I never get detracted from the match. I think it was the weakest of the four so far. I would rate it a 7, like a 6.5 or a 7 maybe. It was a quick match for a world title match, 10 minutes. At the end of the day, it was Trish's first solo match in like 17 years, I think they say. Which actually surprised me. I knew she'd been back a lot. She was on the card of she won. She's been on other matches and their return, etc. Obviously, she was often in tag matches to kind of let her get her breath back and stuff. So I was a little apprehensive, actually, about going in with Tiffany's half her age. It's kind of like the mini Trish in a lot of ways. Yeah, she's blonde, buxom, gorgeous woman. Kind of has the trash talk down to the T and is good in the ring, athletic and stuff. And I like the fact that the match kind of alluded to that a lot. They'd had some past with teaming up that chamber. So for all the criticism this match got in terms of no build and stuff, it wasn't their fault. And I don't think it impacted it too much. I was more concerned about is it going to be good in the ring? You know, please don't let Trish get hurt or something like that. Show her age too much. I will compare it unfavorably to a Saturday night main event the night before where Goldberg, who again, someone I have mixed feelings on. At the end of the day, he did get over, but it was always other people doing it. But well, he was a legend and came back and fought Gunther, who's fantastic. And it wasn't bad per se, but it wasn't, you know, the guy's in his 50s and did shows and stuff. So I was a little worried about something like that. Trish more than held her own, man. Proven once again why she is an absolute legend. To come in at 50 years age and go up against the youth of today in an era that's way stronger than the one Trish grew up in. It just goes to show, you know, if there's ever any doubt where if people are like, oh, could that's a Trish or Lita or Victoria or Gail King, or Nikki, the great wrestlers of the era that was kind of an afterthought and kind of just giving 3 minute matches and brown panties matches and whatever else fucking dumbass gimmick Vince Russo would come up with. Um, the question's been asked of those women, could they hang with the modern day? Well, what an emphatic answer, man. Like, Trish does it at 50 years old. Admittedly, of course, Tiffy led around the ring. She was leading the match. She was carrying the match comparatively. Trish still did well. And she had some spots. She hit the Stratisfaction at one point. She got the chick kick. Tiffany Stratton also hit chick kick. She goes up for the Prince Moonsault ever, which is a great move. I do quite like it. And then Trish puts knees up, does Stratisfaction, kicks out after that. She hits the Prince Moonsault ever the second time. This was the one part of the match actually that looked a bit of a botch. I know whose fault it was. I would be disinclined to blame Amy. Then, you know, shit happens. She's doing a moonsault. She's not really fully see what Trish is. Maybe she puts her in position, goes for it, slightly kind of landed on her face. I think Trish's head was turned to the side. And it's a good job it did, because I think it absorbed a lot of impact and it would have been much worse. The Funk Freak looked okay. I like the fact that they had Tiffy celebrate, get a dues for a great night's work, and then go off down the ring. But that gave Trish a moment as well. She was left in the ring. There was a big chant from the crowd. Just want to say as well, by the way, damn, I should have said from the start, and I should pay tribute to the women last night and the booking and the show itself. The crowd were excellent. I keep saying it. I feel bad for saying it so much, but, you know, it's relevant. Yes, I grew up watching it actually. I grew up watching Ruthless Aggression, and something that's hard to get used to watching week in, week out in 2025 is the crowds. How dead the fucking crowds are, how shit the crowds are. I know it is, whether it's just American crowds in general, because usually when they go abroad, it's a lot better. You might expect that, you know. I don't think that's a surprise when they'll go to UK to get like 2 weeks worth of shows a year, maybe for they'll go to Germany, they'll get like 2 or 3 house shows, maybe a Raw if they're lucky and stuff like that. So the crowd's always better there, but yeah, so often the crowd's just dead, man. I think they did a show recently, it was in Knoxville, and it was just so bad. And I feel bad for wrestlers. You know, there's a bit of a two-way street there. They've got to get the crowd up, but they also feed off the crowd. I think right from the start last night, this crowd was well up for it. It was Atlanta, Georgia, the old WCW Heartland, a great wrestling town with a famous history of wrestling, synonymous with it. Yeah, kind of ironic that WCW's heartbeat, the home, just elevate WWE's best event in many years. Because that's what I think the show was. And the crowd paid the dues to Trish. That was lovely to see. Thank you, Trish. And she goes up to each corner and she's celebrating stuff, walks off. What I've got to say about the Goldberg matches, I think it was awful the way they just cut him off when he's doing his actual retirement speech. They literally cut this program because they were right. Well, thankfully, they paid Trish a bit more respect. Oh, at number 5, the next match was Jade versus Naomi. This match had the longest build. as I said, it's been a consistent storyline since last year. I think it was Survivor Series, War Games. Speaking of War Games, I obviously didn't see this because I only started watching again at the Rumble. I didn't know anything about this until I was literally watching live the women's chamber match. It was a banger match, by the way. Naomi's lives about to start the match. I'm hyped. I'm like, all right, these two are fucking great. I know Naomi from back in the day, of course, and Liv is one of my favorites. Really hyped to see what happens. And then fucking music goes. Jade Cargill comes out and no, I didn't know who the fuck she was, but I'm like, damn, man, this woman's a fucking you. She's gorgeous woman, beautiful woman, but she looks like she could kick ass. She's got an amazing look, man. If ever there's uh, a wrestler that it's like the instant you see them, you think, oh, God, that's it. You know, you get that occasionally, like a Goldberg, like a Lesnar, like an Angle, like a China. You know, the first time you see them, oh yeah, they have it. They have star power and stuff. Well, she has that. Well, so I'm fucking wow. I'm watching it. She comes out, she beats the shit out of Naomi. Well, so well, no idea. Well, the storyline of Len since, of course, and she was taken out by the suit. Naomi took that out. And then after Chamber, it turned Naomi heel. And man, I've got to say, like, yeah, I know Naomi from back in the day. She was someone I respected. She could wrestle and stuff, but I never thought of her in the same bracket as the Horsewomen or Alexa or Asuka or Rhea or Bianca. Basically, all the women who fucking dominated the division for the last 10 years. But holy shit, was I wrong? She was always great in the ring. She had a fantastic entrance. Despite myself, I feel like everything about me should hate it, but I really like the glow entrance she did. Um, but man, she's just gone on another level since she's ended heel. I obviously wanted Alexa to win in the bank. Good, she didn't. And my next choice was Black Hair or Roxy. But Naomi winning, I think, was a good shout. And for good reason. Ever since she turned heel, she had the Mania program with Jade. I thought the match there was okay. A little bit of a letdown. The storyline, I think, has run its course. And when it comes to the end of the review of the show, we will see that it's not done effectively. Seeing this was the final chapter of this rivalry, I think. I didn't expect it to be, but I think it is the final chapter. Well, this is a better way to go, I think, because mixed bag on it. Like I said, the first time I saw Jade this year, I really, really liked her. I didn't know who she was, but I've since learned she was an AEW role. She'd been debuted on AEW a number of years ago, kind of came through the ranks there, got hired to WWE, and kind of came back to the same Rumble and Naomi returned actually into an A. 2024. I didn't watch that, but I've learned since. And I think the whole storyline there was they got paired together with Bianca, and Naomi's jealous of Jade coming back and stealing their thunder. Caught in the thunder, she's the Storm, Jade, after all. Yeah, she ends up taking her out, and that kind of caused a division in that group that Bianca was also a part of. So their feud, all three of them's kind of just been intertwined the whole time. I think it had run its course. And yeah, if ever there was a match to kind of put rubber line under it, this was the better one. No holds barred match with Bianca as special guest referee. I must admit, when I heard Bianca was ref, I thought there'd be some shady shit going on. I actually expected Bianca to turn heel and side with Naomi and just beat on Jade at the end and help Naomi to the win. Or accidentally help Naomi to win. Kind of tease that heel saying, though, it's been a bit of a will she won't she turn heel storyline with Bianca. I think she still will in the future, but I just don't think it's with Naomi now. And we'll get onto the reason for that later on. But yeah, I said before, I'm a little mixed on Jade. And that's because I had the same reaction I think everyone would have had the first time I saw her in Chamber, sorry. But since then, I asked myself, is she true? And the second the question came to me, it's like, oh, damn. I don't think so, man. The promos are still just lacking something. I don't know what it is. It's not quite there. Especially when you compare it, with Naomi herself, who's been doing the best work of her career. Incredible heel wear. Naomi at this moment in time is one of my favourites in the company. Probably my favourite heel. If you're saying something, just speculate yourself. But yeah, she's put in such good work that I just didn't see Jade hang on with her a lot. She's also just kind of getting the Charlotte Flair treatment right now. Jade, she wins everything, man. She came back, she won money in the Queen of the Ring at the expense of Asuka as well, who I wanted to win. I knew Jade would win, but still, kind of held a little smidgen of hope. Can Asuka win? No, she lost. That match was awful. I think that started turning a lot of people against Jade. And my general take on the IWC, is that what it's called? The IWC community, I think, was starting to turn on her a bit. So this is a welcome return to form. It was a match kind of took a bit of a backseat recently, the feud, until the last couple of weeks, because the whole thing was now Naomi has briefcase, is she going to attach her and Tiffany? She kept running in and something was stopping her cashing in, whether it be Tiffany or Nia or something, or Jade itself. But then they resurrected it just before the show, and a couple of weeks beforehand. And they had a good match. This was solid. I think it was, I'd probably rank it about the same as Tiffany District. Again, it went about 10 minutes. I think all the single matches so far have gone 10 minutes. In fact, I think every match went 10 minutes up to this point. Excuse me, besides the triple threat, which was the best of the bunch so far. I think 10 minutes was about perfect. I don't think Jade is a bad wrestler per se, but I don't think she's great. I think she's a bit one-dimensional. She's a bit like Batista. Do you know what I mean? Like, good, has showy moments, can go, is still believable, can hold the 10-minute match. But I think anything beyond that, you're looking for like a classic or something. They're gonna need more. And Naomi's always been a good wrestler, and she's in a late phase. She's not someone who's going to carry a 25, 30 match anymore. I don't think. Back in the day, she could, absolutely, sure. Yeah, I think the pacing was okay. It was a classic no holds barred match, really. It's a lot of weaponry, a lot of kendo sticks, and we had a bit with a table at some point. Jade fumbled with it, trying to set it up. The Slim Jim tables, they call them now. That's a criticism I have of this company in 2025. Fuck me. Do they have so many advertisements? As an OG, coming back into it, like, watch more. I remember watching the very first SmackDown show, and I'm watching SmackDown, and it's like, blah blah's gone through a Slim Jim table. I'm like, what the fuck is this garbage, man? A big issue I have with a lot of these shows is the amount of advertisements they have as well. I'll just say this quickly. I'm going to detour on my floor here. They keep having 4 or 5 match cards across 3 hours, and they're spamming commercials because they have to fill the time. Why? This show showed how to do it. They had 7 matches over 3.5 hours. The way it wasn't overloaded, oversaturated with commercials. So they had a match, 10 minutes, women go, do the thing. Then they had a vignette, old school, proper like video package to hype up the next match. And then they do the entrances, and then they're on after a 1-minute outbreak. That's how it should be. This is the structure of this whole show is perfect, I think, in terms of card, etc. I also think the order of the matches is perfect. You know, having a triple threat to start with really set the tone and stuff. And I think having the 3 singles matches, well, it's 4 singles matches, but 3 single matches kind of bisected with the tag match in the middle was the right thing. After that one, going with Tiff and Trish before this one, I think was the right thing to do. Because I think if you had this one first, you've got a match with a lot of high spots, a lot of match with a lot of weapons and stuff. Tiffany and Trish wouldn't have looked quite as good then. So I think it was really well structured. You know, if there was a crowd kind of beginning to get bored of two back-to-back singles matches, then there's a lot of weapon spots you're not going to in the second one. Well used as well. I think Naomi gets the toolbox out at one point, pulls out a chain and starts mangling Jade's face, seemingly. She throws her head into the table and stuff. The setting up the table spot and the whole spot was a bit funky. Speaking of tables, they also went over to a commentary table. I'm sure this was intentional, but it still looked cool. I was like, oh shit, that wasn't supposed to happen there. Then we goes for a drop kick on Jade and hits her into the commentary table side panel. And something fucking sparks off and blows on, like a shitload of steam comes out as it like caves in. Oh, that moment was great. Um, as I said, I just a couple of issues with this match. Beside the table fucking. I didn't really see why Naomi Bianca was referee. It was obviously just to get her on the show. I feel like they could have done more. Um, and then, yeah, I did expect something from her, like some involvement in the match. Would that have taken away from the match itself, which was better than the main one they had during them? Maybe. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like having her as referee kind of maybe that was the intention. It gave me an expectation of that there's going to be some relevance to her being a referee other than oh, it's Bianca Belair. One of the best wrestlers in company. Let's go on the show. So yeah, I think that was a bit of a red herring, but solid match. Yeah, rank about the same as Tip Trish. It's kind of like a 6.5/7. I think the 10 minutes they were given wasn't enough for them as a singles match to make it more than that. But what time they did have, they used it well. I think. And there was a lot of brutality to the match. Both women came out with looking bad. Naomi came out with busted. She had busted up nose and just cut a cool image, man. Yeah, we'll come back to that afterwards when we come to the main event. But first, we had the penultimate event was the women's battle royale. I I'm not nine like a lot of these fans. When you start watching it again, you get more emotionally invested. You can fall for the hype a little more. There's a bit there. Basically, a lot of hype before this match was, oh, it's Battle Royale. There's no limit how many women they could throw. Are we going to have really big returns? So, a lot of people speculating. Obviously, CM Punk's back now in the company. He's been back for a year. Ever since he came back, there's been speculation of, is AJ Lee going to be there? I haven't really paying much attention to WWE at all for many years over the Super Senior years because fuck that time. It was just dog shit. Um, I was always aware of AJ Lee and how good she is, and she is a legend, and I would love to see her back. I didn't expect it. It would have been really nice, but I knew enough not to get my hopes up. I did, however, expect at least one return or surprise or something. Paige returning was another one. It was those two were the ones really hyped up. And that didn't happen. Even if it had been something like I didn't really care much for it or want it, but yeah, even if Brie comes back, that would have been something unexpected. So I'm a little surprised they didn't do that. They advertised the whole card, the whole what's the word? Roster of women, the whole entries of the women that were involved in this matchup beforehand. They advertised that 2 days ago with this massive poster. In fact, they didn't add to anything. I will be honest, I did say at the start of this video, every match delivered in this card. It wasn't a single match of this like. It's not just like this match by any means, but it was the only one where my attention strayed at one point. It was only for a couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes maybe, where I just picked up my phone, stopped watching, had a scroll, see what people are saying about the event so far, blah blah. Put my phone back and then carry on watching. So I've got to mark it down for that. At the end of the day, even though I didn't get my hopes up expecting a comeback or something like that from AJ or Paige or some other legend, yeah, I imagine Lita appearing goes on, but even someone like Blake had been on the show earlier on that night, but she didn't wrestle, or she did the night before. Her, it would have been cool if she attacked someone and fully solidified it earlier in the night. We all said she attacked someone on the way down or backstage or something and got sent out there. Did she come in? You know, because she would have been a viable winner. I think a couple of problems with this matchup is Wild Market. I just don't really like the R's in general that much. I also think the entrances went on way too long. I understand they're a lot of time. They actually overran me a lot of time. They're on for 3.5 hours. And they're a lot of time, about 3 hours. Peacock, which out in America, are obviously pretty lax with them and flexible. They go, oh, just use whatever time you want. I don't know. I don't know I have a 3.5 hours worth of time slot, but I think it's supposed to be quick. And the entrances took about 15 minutes. They had the full music and stuff. A couple of women had their full-on entrances. I can't recall them right now. But like, I think Chelsea Green was first out. I love Chelsea. I think he's great. She cracks me up. The character works really good. She's got natural comedy timing. She's happy to put people over. In matches, she's pretty solid. She always gives you one or two funny moments. And she did again in this match. A lot of the focus was on her just being a clown, basically. Clownish her. She comes out first and gets pretty favourable treatment in that she's given a full entrance with her entourage, Piper and Albo, also in this match. So I like that. And then it was kind of like the first handful of women got a full entrance, and then the last couple were Vaquer and Julia, who both came from NXT this year, and yeah, it makes sense they're both given a lot of hype. The problem I have with this match, in some respect, is that I think the winner was obvious. I fully expected Stephanie Vaquer to win this. Was it the right decision though? Yes, absolutely. She is the best up and coming. She's 30 odd. She's a seasoned pro veteran, but up and coming wrestler within the company. She is the best of the best, and I'm really happy she got a title match. I'm happy that they put stakes on this match. Full stop. It would have been easy for them to just do what they did in the first women's evolution. Oh, just throw a battle royale on, so every woman gets on the card and gets some showcase. The fact they give stakes to it was really good. It added a bit to the match. I still got annoyed within minutes. I've said I've not paid that much attention to NXT over the 6 months or so that I got back into it. But I've seen enough and know enough that I really like Tate Paxton. I rate her highly. And Izzy Dane, the team, they got eliminated within like no fucking time at all. Pissed me off. I know it's a BR for 20 women or whatever the fuck, but give them more than 8 seconds, man. That was brutal. And then I can't remember who was next out. Was it Kalani? I expected Kalani Jordan to be the NXT standout star in this BR. It turned out it was Lash Legend, who was one of the last three. I think Kalani might have gone out early or something. Or is she the one? Someone got eliminated. Or, like, they got thrown to Izzy and taken, caught the woman. It's probably Nia who chucked her. Oh, it's Nia just eliminates everyone. And then the one rolled over into the commentary table, stayed on, and then basically the hands on to get back in. I don't remember if it was Kalani or not. Whoever it was, though, shout out to you. That's what was it. It's something we've seen before, of course, like Naomi or Kofi Kingston, where they don't hit the floor. They use the surroundings to get back in the room. So it's not exactly new, but it's always cool. It's always a cool spot. It's still live TV. You don't know what's going to happen. She could have fucked it up. Yeah, I like that spot a lot. It's one that never fails to get the crowd extra hyped as well. The crowd was already hot to this event and stayed it the whole way. Nikki Bella returned. But it had already been announced. It wasn't a return. She's an old, say legend. I was never a huge fan of that. I respect what she did. I'll say this for Nikki. She's not a bad wrestler. Not amazing, but she's not bad. But I do think she did put the effort in. I saw some video posted on X the other day where training with some random trainer dude. And she was really putting in the hard yards, like making sure she was fit and ready to go, and she had a good showing and stuff. Um, but she was never going to win. A lot of people were like, "Oh, I think she's going to win," and stuff. They're not going to have her come back in, go over like to Nia Jax or the care straight away and stuff. Speaking of Nia Jax, it was her and the care and the Lash Legend at the end. It's eliminated a number of other women. And some of the eliminations were pretty cool. I also kind of like the fact that Zelina, or no, Julia had recently taken the belt off Zelina in what was an awful US fighting win. I don't even know if I'd fully blame Zelina for that. I think she's partly to blame. I'm not gonna have Skonda entirely. I like her a lot. She's hot. She's good in the ring. She has a great look. Um, I've heard she can talk when given the mic. Uh, Obviously, I've not seen that much of her in the past. But I start watching again, and she takes the US title, and she just did nothing with it. Um, and basically they buried that belt. I like Julia a lot since she come onto the roster, but I will never ever understand why they had to do a promo before the match she took it off Selena and had it buried belt. It was a full on Bison moment. It was basically like, oh, to you, this match is the biggest night of the year. To me, it's just Tuesday. This belt means fuck all to me. It's just a stepping stone. She literally said that. And then they have a winning belt. I'm like, what the fuck? So I almost would welcome Zelina getting a rematch against her and maybe try and build them up to be a bit more equal in strength and at least a bit of a fight. Um, I don't really see what other option they have. But personally, I actually think for SmackDown recently, what they should have done with the US title is did what they did with the IC title. They had two legends come back and be heavily involved in the IC title on Raw in Becky and Bayley to really help elevate the belt, give us some prestige right from the off, the first year it's played, and then go. And this is no hate Julia or Chelsea or the women who have been for US 70 champions. I actually I really liked Chelsea's US champ. I think she built a whole gimmick around it. And she's just fun to watch. She's so entertaining. Uh, One of the funniest heels. I think she's kind of like the Jericho of the show, in my opinion. Like the heel who's like the shit out, the fun. You can't have all of them. Zelina just wasn't given much to wear, but it's all right. And the only real feud she had was with Chelsea in the hairless, and she botched a 619 in the Saturday Night Main Event title defense against Chelsea, which didn't help her cause, unfortunately. And then they had Julia take the belt. So I just don't really understand why they didn't put Charlotte Flair in that picture. Obviously, they've gone a different direction now. I was talking about them before. They are now a tag team. I didn't mind that so much for the future, but yeah. I just think it's US title needs something, and Zelina eliminating Julia maybe is the start of rekindling of that storyline and could do something. So I kind of like that. And as far as the rest of eliminations went, I don't think there was that much in terms of like setting up any storylines or something. But I don't think it was really, really good. It was just about the match and the prize. And I do think the last three were kind of fitting. Flash Legend, I know enough to know that she's kind of an OG. I've seen for a long time. Well, not an OG, far from an OG actually. I've seen them that long. But she's been there since about 2020. So I don't mind her being in the representative. I kind of like the fact that they had one from each brand in the last three. I didn't notice it until I think it was Wade Barrett said, or Joe Test, or whoever the fuck was on commentary said, "Oh, we have one for each brand." I'm like, "Oh shit, actually, yeah, that's cool," because you don't know which title could be being challenged and who wins at that point. But I do think everyone expected Becky to win, and she did. I know how to. She also had a couple of spots. Chelsea took the piss. There were a couple of fun spots in this battle royale. Chelsea mocked Nikki's dance, and then Nia mocked Nikki's dance, which she twists her hips and she shakes her arm. Other those moments were kind of fun. Becky goes for she gets mocked by Chelsea early on, but then goes for, I don't know what the move's called. The Devil's Kiss, that's it. The one I've seen since, I fucking love Booker T. I obviously love him. watched this guy since the fucking 90s, since Harlem Heat. Oh, well, since WCW. Uh, I loved his reaction to Devil Kiss. And man, what's not to love about this move? Stephanie Vaquera's that Latina aunt. She's a great wrestler. She's got a great look. And damn, she, now she got a, what was the kid's name? She's got the bakery. She's got the goods. Yeah. This move is always a crowd pleaser. She actually won the match with it. I thought that was a great spot. The way they did it, the Heron kind of gets Flash Legend in what looked like it's going to be a Hurricane Rana. And then I see them headed towards the ropes. I'm like, oh, they're going to do this shit that I've seen a million times. You know what's going to happen. They're going to roll over the ropes. But Stephanie Vaquero is going over the ropes first. It's going to Hurricane Rana and lash out and then win the match. No, that's not what happened. And at first, I thought they fucked it up. There's kind of like a bit of a scramble. You could see Stephanie was being extra careful. She got to lash his fucking neck between him Monster 5, so Chun-Li 5. I'm like, damn, man, if she slips or something, I'm breaking it. She's being extra careful at first, and I thought, oh, are they doing that? They kind of covering up for a fuck up, and they're going to go back again. No, what it is was she got on the outside, got on the ring apron, and she would line her up before it ever skips, which she then turned around, did, and then released her at the end, and Lash scrolls off onto the floor outside, and the care win. Did that have Stephanie McMahon come out? Um, damn, man, I mean, talking of people like watched in the Attitude Era, like Trish, like Booker, great to see Stephanie McMahon back. Probably the greatest woman ever on the mic, I would say, at peak. I think even better than an Alexa or a Tony Storm or a Monroe. Uh, so great to see Stephanie McMahon. Also kind of wild. She speaking of the Attitude Era, she's still fucking. She got a. She was dressed like it was 2001. She had the sleeveless dress on. Um, she was rocking a proper old school Stephanie look. And I wonder whether that was a bit of a nod to Evolution, you know, the humbler days of the women's roster and WWE to the modern day. Stephanie was there start, and then again, she did the interview with Fucker, and yeah, pretty charming, sweet interview. She talks in English, says she's not really got that great English. But her first language is wrestling. Not like that stuff. You know, who doesn't love Stephanie? Yeah, couldn't help but smile watching it. It is so refreshing to talk about the division where I like the vast majority of them. So many times I'll go into matches like, well, you've got to pick sides, so I want this one to win. I prefer this one a bit more. But if the one wins, I don't really mind. Yeah, thankfully I got my wish this time. Okay, I did win. Which will go into Clash in Paris, which is the event after SummerSlam, and take on. Well, we thought she would take on the winner of the next match, because she is on Raw, and next up was the Raw Women's Championship match. Main event match between Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. A lot to say about this one. First and foremost, a lot of people criticizing this matchup in a way because it's happened so many times before. I don't think Io has ever actually defended the belts against someone who's not Rhea, which is wild. Obviously, but I don't think it matters because they make magic. They are two of the best wrestlers in the world. Full stop. Male or female. Io, I think, is the best wrestler, or certainly not, if not the best. She's the best worker. It doesn't matter. Like, you could put them on every fucking week and I would watch and be hyped. I've never been as massive of a fan as people are, I think, actually. There'll be a lot of people who are like, she's the goat, so I think she will end up being that possible at the end of their career. I would go that far yet. And I do think she has, been smashed over a bit too much. But at the end of the day, man, she's great. She's fantastic at what she does. She's great in the ring. She looks great. She's got the look. The personal look for me is she's a bit too big, if you like. Times because she'll go into some certain matchups. I'm like, she looks like she's fucking mad at this woman, but I guess she can't help it and stuff. But Io is an exception because Rhea's so much bigger. She goes into this matchup, you're like, it might detract from the build up against someone else of a similar size. But Io's so good and so athletic that no, it's very believable that she's come out and beat her. And indeed, a big part of the build up was the fact that Rhea had never beaten Io in some of the matches. Even though I've not watched for a couple of years, I knew who Io Sky was. Io Shirai as well, well, as she was named back in the day. I knew her from NXT, and you should have great matches with Rhea in the past. It was her won the Mae Young Classic, I think. The first one, or the Tony winner. I think Tony might have won a Tony song. But I think they had a matchup then. They had a matchup the NXT Championship, I think in 2020, Rhea and Io. And then Io obviously beat Rhea early on in the year for the title in an unexpected one in a Raw taping, I think, or Raw live show. And then the Mania match, the triple threat with Bianca was incredible. There's another one of those matches like the triple threat before, where you knew it was going to be amazing. You've got great wrestlers with each other; they're going to make magic happen. So, all things considered, I get some of the criticism. Is Rhea smashed into the main event a lot? Yes. I sometimes wonder, does WWE know how to book her outside the main event? Look at Charlotte Flair. We don't want what happened to Charlotte to happen to Rhea. We're already kind of seeing rumblings of it in the IWC. I will venture on social media a bit after the shows and kind of gauge a pulse of what the crowd in 2025 think about wrestling and company. And we're starting to see some murmurs from some people of Rhea Hogan. Actually, in the Raw where it was announced, because Io was allowed to choose her opponent, she's like, oh, maybe not. Who doesn't love Rhea? Io. She just always looks like she's having fun and is entertained and just really happy vibes. And so she does her thing, like, I want to defend against Best. I want to defend against Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley, I was pissing with her. It's the can't help but smile watching that promo. The second Rhea started talking, someone literally heard them in the crowd just go, Rhea Hogan. Yeah, that kind of sentiment is coming out a bit, and I do think it has to stop at some point. But I just can't bring myself to ever not want to see Rhea and Rio. I knew it'd be a great match. I think everyone did. And still, even expecting how good it was, even the pressure on, because everyone had delivered in this event. Every match was top class. Well, every match delivered. A few of them were top class, especially the first three matches where everyone shone. The pressure was on for this to be the main event that justifies being the main event. It is a matchup we've seen so often. Io's reign has been really fucking disrespected by WWE. This was their first defense since main event, which is wild. 3 months to get a defense. So there were some rumblings about the build up, but it didn't matter, man. I knew once the bell went, it would be a great match, and it exceeded any expectation and hope. This was a 5-star classic. This was the best match of the card. Even better, I think, than Triple Threat. I would have no qualms in any prospective viewer saying it's the way around, saying the Triple Threat is the best and this was the second best. They were both that good, those matches. But I still generally just prefer 1v1 solo. And there was a bit of a storyline built up to it. This is another match in the build up. It's kind of dropped up, And that was part of the criticism of, Rhea's just had a feud with Raquel. Leo's barely been on television, even though she's incredible wrestler. We just barely had her on Raw. Not defended the title. It was kind of just thrown up a week or two before the event, and Io comes on, I'm going to challenge Rhea. Okay, let's see. But they did actually compensate that by building a bit of a story match. At one point, I was like, it's Rhea turning heel with. Did a great match back and forth. The whole build up, the whole point is that Rhea is one of the goats. But there's two women she always has a problem with. One is Liv, who's beaten her a couple of times. The other is Io, which you can never beat. And then you saw at one point Io go for a springboard. I knew it was coming. You can see the setup of my before it happened. Rhea stands up, she's got the ref behind her. Rhea, the ref gets taken out, gets the cars on the floor outside. And then Rhea hits the riptide, goes to pin. Carlton gets about fucking 10. No referee in there, so Rhea does not win. And at that point, you're thinking, oh yeah, Rhea's probably going to win. Rhea took it to the outside, then they went through the crowd, and she started really kind of getting like aggressive. You know, the whole build up to this is it's face versus face, so they're not going too hard on them. They're not ripping each other apart and promos, not roasting each other. Um, but that kind of began to waver a bit. She started really like putting the boot to, you know, there were times in the match at the start where they were a bit too. I think Rhea did one spot at one point where you can hear her loud as clear, a fucking loud Aussie accent. Oh, I respect you, Rio, but I want to say you, or some shit, whatever the fuck he said. And I remember that point getting such a stab of annoyance that I was like, yeah, we get it. You mates. You can tell they get along in real life as well. They both have enormous respect for each other. Of course they do. They're two of the best in the world. Two of the best to ever fucking do it. We don't need to be reminded of that mid-match. We don't need that shouted across. And you fucking stop wrestling for 5 seconds to say that. But then I saw why they did it. Because they did start teasing this thing where Rhea's frustrated. She's kind of snapped. She's lost the plot. She's gone. She's basically had the match won. The ref's been taken out. He takes the outside. Starts smashing the fuck out of her, throwing her into things that are littered around the arena, like railings and whatever the fuck. This big sound box at one point she threw into. And then Io turns tide, knocks her back down, gets up top. Does a moonsault thing. And then they eventually fight their way back to the ring. Io hits a Poison Rana, which I don't know how the fuck this shit's not a finisher, by the way. It looks like it should end any moment. It gets flung back on the back of the head. He literally just like plants the back of Rhea's head down. I don't know, that's not a finisher, but a standing moonsault is for like everyone. But yeah, anyway. A lot of series and near falls, just great wrestling, a variety of great athleticism, which you expect from Io, and just great mat work from Rhea. Both of them can lead, both of them can be led in matches. They're both incredibly experienced. You just have great chemistry. You is going to be a banger. I don't think any woman had the hold over another for too long. It was a nice to and fro of this one gets momentum for a while and the other one takes it back. Anyway, the match goes on and on. This was by far the longest match of the night. It's about 25 minutes, half an hour in, something like that. Did not look at the clock once. I didn't know this until afterwards, how long it had gone. But you knew it'd been a while. You're thinking, okay, we're getting close to the finish now. With the commentator even said at one point. What even happened? I think Rhea went up onto the ring. It almost looked like she was maybe going to do a tied off the tentacle again, which she's done a few times. I think Io, yeah, she lifted her up and Io reversed it. She did like a Hurricane Rana or some shit. Both women down. Then all of a sudden, you hear Naomi's move. I lost my shit, man. I've never really been that much of a fan of one of those fans who's like vocal or even shows much emotion outside. A will inside sometimes, oh yeah, man, I'm sick or like, smiling inside stuff. But I was legit like, oh my fucking god, like walk off me seat, losing my mind because this was extremely unexpected, in my opinion. I think it was the perfect end to the event. Naomi comes down, both opponents are out. They actually fucked up somewhat. I think Naomi and the sheer noise of the crowd when she came out just didn't feel it. But she runs over to the ring announcer, tells her, yeah, she's got the briefcase, I'm cashing in, goes to the ref and stuff. They announce it. She goes over. EO's by now come over and has kind of got her head hanging out the bottom row or the middle row, kind of in a 619 position, getting ready to have a head whack with the briefcase. The bell had already rung. Naomi turns around with the briefcase. Clearly hadn't heard the fucking bell. Turns back around. You could say you could hear her saying to them, like, "Oh, the fucking bell, I'll be beside her." They ring it again, and she hears, then she walks here and goes in. So that was a bit janky, a bit scuffed. But who the fuck cares? She looked great coming out as well. She's got a great image. I love the whole Corrigan tape she has, the briefcase with Corrigan you bend on. I know WWE, oh well, Triple H specifically is not a big fan, apparently, of Money in the Bank and its concept. I can see why, because you kind of get pigeonholed in, and I also think they haven't booked it well at times. I've realised in the time since that the whole Tiffany Stratton run, I watched clips back of that. They did it. I don't think they booked that too well. I think sometimes they make the person, the briefcase, everything about the wrestler. I think sometimes not that it should be a byproduct. It should almost it's better if it's forgotten about. And they do have that sword dangling. You don't see it every fucking week. And they were starting to do that now. I mean, it's pissing me off. She's just coming out every fucking week and teasing cashing in and stuff and strapping. This is said earlier. There's some combination of unfortunate events. Someone would fuck her over, or she just wouldn't get to cash it in to begin with. Nia took her out one week, I think. Tiffy ran away another week. I think Jade come out one week and just fucked her up. And it just never quite fell into place. And I was beginning to get frustrated that they're going to do that because that also put her feud with Jade on hold. And Naomi's doing nothing in the shows but do this. And I'm thinking, are they just going to bring her up every fucking week when Tiffany's there? And have her tease this for how long? Like, this is shit. Give her something else to do. Give her a rivalry while has still got the briefcase. But we're not thinking about it every week. We kind of almost forget it and then she cashes it in. Well, I apologize, WWE, because there is a method to madness. And the whole point of this was that you just assume she was looking, she had eyes for Tiffany Strong. And she may well have done fine in TV, but man, like, who accepted it? A couple of people come out and said they called it since. So kudos to them. You fucking Nostradamus bastards. So I did not see this film. So I think everyone expected, and this is why I was saying before, it was a bit surprised why it seemingly was the end of the Jade Naomi story. Because Naomi's obviously in Raw now. But speaking of the devil starts in a minute, so I'll have to wrap this up. I'm excited to see that anymore. I think everyone expected the natural progression because Jade kept beating Naomi. She's beaten her up a couple of times. She took her out of Chamber. She beat her at Mania. She beat her last minute. Bloody door. I think everyone was expecting that Naomi would therefore get her revenge by having Jade beat Tiffany at SummerSlam, which is believable. No, there's no harm to Tiffany if she loses Jade. I think that will happen now anyway. But then I thought immediately after, like a minute after, Naomi would get her revenge for all these defeats to Jade. Come in, cash in on Jade, take the title off her, and then they'll go into feud for the next however the fuck I'm on. Maybe getting Bianca involved somehow. Well, I feel like now what they're going to do is have Bianca go heel on Jade, which has kind of been teased, and I think Bianca needs it in a way. Bianca's never been mentioned here, obviously. She wasn't really involved in the show much. She was special guest rep, but she's injured, unfortunately. Another injury along with Liv. Literally, the two best women in the best event of the year, the two last night, was Jade and Bianca after their performances in Money in the Bank. Sadly, both were injured. So it goes to show the depth of the show that it's still so good that they kind of won't miss. But yeah, I expect when she comes back, she will maybe cost Jade against Tiffany. I don't see it. I still think Jade will win. I think the crowning it's inevitable. It's been earmarked for a long time. Coronation. It's just been a matter of when, not if. So I think it will happen, and then it will be Bianca and Jade involved. Maybe they turn it into a triple threat SummerSlam. I'd be a lot more surprised if it happens. I don't think it will. As for Raw, like where does I guess from WWE's perspective as well, with Naomi cashing in, winning the Raw title, it protected Rhea from taking a defeat to Io. Right? Io got screwed over, so although she lost the title, it's like shenanigans, and then she was ambushed basically while they were both out. The whole story, Rhea and Io just cancel each other out basically to each other out, non purchase and things about each other. So I expected that one to be a triple threat, actually. I don't think the SmackDown one will, but I think the Raw Women's title will be between those two. Or at least, I was thinking, well, maybe you get a qualifier match, then a one contender match, which might even happen tonight. Raw, where it's Rhea versus Io to take on Naomi. They're both kind of queuing up to take out Naomi now in the top two. I'm sure Stephanie will come in and do some promos with them as well, because she's going to take on the winner of Naomi versus whoever, SummerSlam. Yeah, I really wouldn't mind a threat between the three of them. I just think you put Rhea and Io in the ring, magic happens. Naomi's still really solid in the ring as well. So I think that's a fucking home run. And that was it for the show. It went out on that note. It's like a lot of people are just fucking stuff. They come out like, oh, that Cashin ruined the main event. I'm fucking serious. This event was already incredible. I get annoyance at not having a definitive winner. I, I grew up in the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. I'm used to this shit. It didn't bother me. Um, Ordinarily, a world title match main event, I would be a bit more annoyed to take out. But people lose sight of the moment, how unexpected it was. Then we win the title again was so deserving. In 7 years since she won the title. I know she had a bad history. I mean, the cardinal sin of wrestlers do not walk out on the job, which she did on the day with Sasha Banks years ago. I was very critical of her then, even though I wasn't really watching the program regularly then. I was still fucking mad at her. But she came back, she paid her dues. She's been great as a heel this year. She's the best heel right now. Raw needed a heel. They just had Liv injured out for an unknown amount of time, maybe the rest of the year. So I just think it made sense. I feel like this was the right move. It's a bit frustrating. I mean, I prefer SmackDown in general because I tend to uh, watch a bit more of SmackDown. And I don't know, just in general, I prefer SmackDown. So it's a bit of a shame that she's been taken out of that division. However, I feel like it was needed to kind of replace the Bully of Liv. And I feel like SmackDown may well even get Jordan Grace soon as kind of a replacement. So I'm sure they'll be okay. There's plenty of other contenders in NXT as well. So Reapers and Maiden this weekend. Just in general, man, a top class show. There's not a single woman there who did not do themselves proud. And I did want to pay tribute. I've never ever done like a review kind of thoughts on any event in this channel. But I thought I had to because if the goal was to convince WWE that after 7 years they could pull off an all-women's pay-per-view, then they succeeded and then some. The first one, I don't know, I can buy out for whatever reason. But the actual event itself wasn't great. I mean, that was widely considered as fact. Even back then, I was a big fan of the Virgin talent in the women's scene. But yeah, man, like just to see how far they've come, to have a lot of the women that made it possible at ringside, the Ivory, the Chinas, oh, she's fucking dead. Rest in peace, Joni. She was not ringside. So I'll be Ivory's, your Jacqueline's ringside, your Jazz's, to Trish on the show. And then to come to today, I think it was just a perfectly class show. Um, and if it was made in response to All In, and the women were kind of aware of that and weren't giving much build up, and it's kind of just a fuck you to AEW, then it only served them better, isn't it? So I think a lot of these women went out with fire in the belly. They're like, you know what, yeah, if you're going to put this on, just as a tool to fuck AEW, we're going to show you we do have the ability to carry our own healing. We'll see in future if there's any other premium live events to saying that is worth my review. When I'm watching someone like wrestling, it's been about 20 years since I have watched week in, week out. As I said, I feel like I'm always maybe a week or a month or two and just stop and watch it entirely. So who's to know whether I'll be watching that in the future? I think a lot of this year have actually been good week. But there's greatness there, and it's in the women's division, and it runs from top to bottom. And I never ever thought I'd say this. I was never a misogynist when it came to the women and the attitude era and something like that. But generally speaking, they were laughing great moments. They were two for minute throwaway matches where they couldn't do anything. And the reason why I tuned into that attitude era was for The Rock, was for Austin, was for Taker, for the Angle, Triple H, Michaels. You know, they were the stars of those times. Well, man, I wouldn't go as far as saying the women carry the WWE right now, but they aren't far. But I think they're the ones I want to see. I would legit, if they fired every man, I'm not saying do this. Think of these guys' families. If they fired every man tonight, I wouldn't even be that bothered, which is kind of remarkable to say. Yeah, shout out to all these women for such an incredible event. You should be proud of yourself for that. I'm an old school fan who's just got back into it, and that is the kind of event that's going to keep me around because it was spectacular. I think they'll probably make this an annual thing from now on. I don't think anyone would be complaining after last night. You look at talent come through NXT as well. We had Blake appear. She wasn't even wrestling on the show. She's one of the best in the world. Make no mistake about it. She will be massive. You have Bianca injured, you have Liv injured. Look at the ones who weren't even there in that regard. Spectacular. Absolutely incredible. Who's to say what could happen by the next Evolution as well? Maybe you got Mercedes back by then. Maybe Tony'd return by then. Maybe Paige is back by then. It could be even better. So this might just be the start of many. And the sky's the limit when it comes to the women's division right now. I think every single match was on point, and we had two absolute bangers, 5-star ones in triple threat. The first match and last. And then, I also think Jordan JC and the Fatal 4-Way tag, especially, were very, very good. Moving on to SummerSlam, I'm hoping, well, I don't know what. I wouldn't mind Naomi having quite a long reign, actually. Although, who would begrudge Steph Fucker winning it late August? Oh, yeah, that'll be cool as well. I don't think it'll happen. I think Naomi will hold the belt until at least the Rumble. Probably until Monday. And then I think the Rumble winner will maybe be Vaqueros. It's a plan. Who takes it off at the second time, I should say. Also, looking forward for the women, as I said. I hope Alex and Charlotte continue doing what they're doing because they've just been great. They've been so much fun to watch. You can tell how much fun they're having. Alexa's wrestling as well as she has ever. Charlotte is enjoying herself more than ever. She, excuse me, finally cheated. It's just nice to see a legend being fully appreciated. The second, pay attention to them. You don't need her in a fucking main event non-stop. She's great. You know she's great. Everyone likes and respects her. We don't need to have 4-star throats non-stop. So I hope that carries on for SummerSlam. Yeah, man, like if they go back now to doing SummerSlam, it's like 5-match cards each night. I'm pissed off. They showed you could do 6-7-match card in 3.5 hours. Fine. It's entertaining. As long as the matches deliver, no one gives a shit, man. how long the event may be. Like, just you have so much talent, incredible wrestlers in both men's and women's league, especially the women. You just put them on, let them wrestle, give them time. Um, the show was perfectly structured, perfectly paced, and was just genuinely. Well, I believe in perfection. It's not the best event I've ever seen. Because I grew up in an era where wrestling was the king. It was the best. But man, the best compliment I can pay to it is that it was it wouldn't have looked out of place in terms of quality, fan hype, general reaction, how excited it made everyone afterwards. Wouldn't have looked out of place in any of the best eras in wrestling history. So this was a watershed moment, I think. And yeah, I just wanted to share my opinions on it, guys. So let me know what you think. Did you enjoy the show? Did you prefer the winners being who they were? Were there certain spots you didn't like? What would you like to see in future from the women's division? I would say that my wish list number one now is probably for Blake and Jordan to have a quick look feud. Still a month long feud, it's fine. Yeah, I see it now. Jordan and Grace come up to Phil Linear and Fade Forward in SmackDown. I want to see that. Yeah, let me know what you think, guys. I will shoot off now because I'm actually gone 10 minutes over since Raw started.